The FBI is now investigating Acorn to determine whether this left-wing activist group with ties to Senator Obama promoted voter registration fraud across the country. Government officials tell CNN that the FBI is now looking at state investigations of Acorn to see whether there is a basis for a federal criminal investigation. As Bill Tucker reports, thousands of convicted felons who are ineligible to vote have somehow found their way onto voter rolls.
In Washington state, convicted felons can vote, but only after they've completed their sentence and been declared eligible by the court. Yet a recent investigative report by KIRO-TV uncovered tens of thousands of ineligible felons on voter registration rolls, many of whom have voted in past elections. An investigation by Florida's Sun Sentinel newspaper found much the same in Florida.
I remember seeing this one man who was following another man, signing up the same people. I mean, it was crazy.
Do you have a number? Can you guess? 10, 100?
How many registrations I filled out? I can't even count how many registrations I filled out.
Did anyone ever say, even though you were registered, we want to encourage you to register again?
Yes. And I do.
What did the Acorn people do?
They was trying to get signatures so they can make their money, and I was trying to help them.
How many times did you sign up?
Like 73 times.
How many?
73 times.
We had close to 5,000 total from Acorn, and so far we have identified about 2,100.
So roughly half of them
are
bad.
Correct.
Registered to a dead person, registered as a person who lives at a fast food shop, or just all of them amazingly in the same hand.
People asked us if we'd registered to vote, and we said yeah, and then they followed us for about 2.5 blocks telling us how we should vote early, and it's not too late to do it today, and they kept telling us to vote for Obama, and then we just were like, we don't know who we're voting for, and then they still followed us, so we just took off running.
There's almost an element of coercion in it, you know, when they tell you that, you know, we can get you registered, we can drive you down there, we can run the vans, we can let you know why you're going to vote for a Democratic candidate.
All said that the Get Out the Vote efforts were strongly pro-Obama. Even the Get Out the Vote efforts that were supposed to be nonpartisan, a lot of those volunteers had Obama stickers or had Obama labels that they were handing out. So these students, if they were supporting McCain, felt pressured to support Obama because the people that were registering them were saying, vote for Obama. Another interesting part of the pressure was that students who may live in California or Georgia, they were being pressured to register in Ohio because it's such an important swing state.
3 former Kansas City workers face federal charges for submitting bogus registration cards. Authorities are looking for a 4th worker.
They basically raped our voter rolls in a very abusive and irresponsible way.
Of the 35,000 cards Acorn hand-delivered during its Get Out the Vote campaign, James characterizes 85% of them as trash.
One of the worst recent voter scandals happened in Washington state 2 years ago. Voter registration forms for 1,800 people were submitted by the activist organization Acorn. Acorn even threatened to sue election officials there if they didn't accept the registrations. But there was only one problem. Only 6 of the 1,800 names were real people. All the rest were fake. The Acorn workers did admit that they made the names up. You believe this? They actually sat in the Seattle Public Library there at a table and even randomly picked out names from the phone books. One worker said he even would sit at home making the names up and smoke marijuana.
They employ criminals who they say, like law-abiding citizens they employ, make great workers. Audrey Padilla works for the nonprofit organization Acorn, registering people to vote.
I think it's a really powerful thing to vote.
But the information she gathers on this form can be powerful if criminals get their hands on it, and they have. Jeffrey Mahaffey did, and he was convicted in 2 counts of raping a child, a habitual offender who stole a car. Yvonne Chacon did too. She pleaded no contest to 2 counts of forgery, 7 more counts are pending, and so are 3 counts of credit card fraud. Michelle Real also collected voter information for Acorn while under the supervision of probation and parole for drug possession and 1 count of identity theft. We showed Albuquerque Police Chief Ray Schultz the records of 9 people accused or convicted of crimes who collected voter registration information for Acorn.
This information, is in the hands of the wrong person, can be devastating. In Nevada, Acorn claimed to have registered Tony Romo and Terrell Owens of the Dallas Cowboys, and the FBI raided Acorn's Nevada offices yesterday looking for evidence of fraud. In Indiana, officials had to throw out 11,000 registrations as suspected fraudulent. In Wisconsin, Acorn was illegally employing felons to register voters. In Florida, Acorn has turned in voter registration in duplicates, multiple copies of the same form. In one Missouri county, RX Sean reported today they found a 12-year-old registered 10 registrations for the same name, in all 800 phonies from Acorn. Of course, that brings us back to Ohio, where Acorn and other Democrats tried to steal the election last week with 7 days of instant registration and early voting. They rounded up the homeless but fell short of the number of voters they targeted. Look, Acorn is trying to steal the election for Obama. So what? Well, remember, Obama used to be an Acorn trainer and an Acorn lawyer.
An Ohio man says he registered to vote 77 times in a year and a half. Another says workers from the community activist group Acorn pursued him until he registered 10 to 15 times. Acorn is the largest community organization working to get low-income folks to register to vote, a voting bloc that usually goes for Democrats. What do you mean they've harassed you until you registered 6 times? Break it down for me.
I would get off the bus from downtown Cleveland and they'd be there. I go to the grocery store, they'd be there.
What do they say?
They follow you. Can you please just sign this? They really want to, it increases their paycheck. Yeah, and even if you tell them that I've already registered, they'll be like, well, just sign your name and give us the last 4 of your social and we'll do the rest. You feel kind of pushed and kind of forced to do it, and you don't want to say no because you don't want to be mean, but you don't want to. You don't want to be harassed either. But if you go to downtown Cleveland and get off a bus or just walk down the street, there are maybe 15 people to every one person who's walking down the street who will try to register you to vote, and they all work for Acorn.
There are new accusations of voter fraud in Ohio linked to Acorn, the community organization that gets federal funds to help register voters. Election officials near Cleveland hearing testimony about phony registrations, 4,700 of them to be exact. This on top of similar charges in 13 states. With us now is Missouri Governor Matt Blunt. Governor, good of you to be here.
Glad to be with you.
You hear today about this guy who actually registered to vote 73 times. There's the pizza delivery driver who got cigarettes and other things to register. I mean, it's got to be frightening for you.
Well, it is frightening, and you shouldn't just be worried about this if you're a Republican. If you're an American that cares about democracy, then you should care about the foundation of democracy, which are elections where everybody plays by the rules. And clearly, Acorn and the Obama campaign that's aligned with it is not playing by the rules. Have only one purpose: cast fraudulent ballots. Yeah, this is a group that has a history of systematic fraud. In 2003 in St. Louis City, they submitted over 5,000 registrations. Less than half were valid. 1,000 of them appeared to be a clear attempt to register a fictitious voter. So this is a group that has a history of systematic fraud. An organization with a history of fraud, of indictments, more than 11 investigations across the country. I think Senator McCain is right when he's called for a federal investigation of all of their activities and an examination of the more than 1 million voters that they claim to have registered. Even if just a fraction of those are fraudulent, it could have an impact on Election Day. The only reason to commit registration fraud, again, is to cast fraudulent ballots. So everybody needs to take it seriously. It's not a trivial matter. It's a serious matter. We need everybody out there watching over the election process. Election boards, local election authorities, county prosecutors need to watch over the process. Don't do anything that might intimidate a voter or discourage people from participating, but watch the election process so we can have a result that we all trust.
Very quickly, Governor, is it fair to link Barack Obama's campaign to some of these fraudulent activities that have been linked to Acorn today for some of the things he did a decade ago?
Absolutely. And even this year, even in this campaign cycle, they've made an $800,000 contribution to an Acorn subsidiary. They did that knowing full well of the history of this group when it comes to registration fraud and illegal activities surrounding elections. They tried to hide it in their reports, finally had to admit that it was to an Acorn subsidiary and was clearly related to registration efforts. Barack Obama's been their lawyer. He's worked for them as a community organizer. He's taught their classes. And in fact, in 1992, he led one of their voter registration efforts.
Missouri Governor Matt Blunt, Governor, good of you.